Okay, we're finally on to Section 5. Oh boy, that was a long time. But yeah, Section 5, Story and Movies. So first off, we're actually starting with the story. Like, the Mini Mayhems story. Which, from the beginning, there originally was no story. It was really just a few characters that came to life, causing a little havoc for their creator. And at some point, it just sort of came along that there was gonna be... in reality, I wasn't even sure if Mini Mayhems was gonna make it past page 10. Because, I mean, I didn't have any ideas. Oh boy. I didn't have any ideas for what could happen. Because at that time, the characters were very flat. Like, Scuff was the level-headed character. Spur was always asking questions. And Ox was fighting things. Like, there wasn't too much to the characters. So, trying to get past page 10 on the first series was just very difficult. Because I didn't know what I could do with the characters. But after not too long before page 10, I had a small idea. What about adding a character? And that's when Neo came along. And that's when a bit more story was sort of thought out. And then it was sort of a late night thought after sort of getting those few pages where Neo's hidden in the background, like, okay, why is Neo there? And that was the first stages of thought for any sort of antagonist. Like I said, Jack and Hyde were supposed to be a single character, and it was a very last-minute decision that those characters became who they were, and even that siblings became a thing. Because it was literally just before taking the pictures for when Jack and Hyde first show themselves to the group. Literally just before that, I thought, okay, so why are they chasing Neo? Oh, what if they're secretly siblings? And that's literally where that just came from. And it just sort of kept going and going after that, like, and I'm currently very far ahead in planning, actually. Like, there's a lot of story that I have planned, and it's this story which is being told both throughout the pages in a small part, but also for the major parts in the movies. And it's why I'm very excited about them. It's why I enjoy doing them. Because there's so much I want to tell everyone about this story, about these characters. But it's just a matter of getting there first. And we already got to the first movie, to which we finally figured out that, okay, we finally figured out, like, why Jack and Hyde want, like, what they'll do to win, and we figured out a bit of the breaking point, and they finally became good. And we sort of discovered another evil, which sort of became nullified after the creator returned, which, if you remember, Makuta is now trapped in this little thing. In actuality, the creator cut off the top of a 2-liter soda bottle, and just sort of washed that out and trapped Makuta in there. And by the creator's powers, Makuta can now no longer be evil. As long as he's trapped in there, as long as he's kept in there, he can't do anything. And Makuta can't move it. And even if Makuta did escape, by the creator's creative powers, Makuta cannot do anything. He's powerless. It's just a matter of no one wants to deal with him. And we'll sort of see what happens with that actually later on. And, I'm thinking. I'm going over my notes here. Sort of skipped ahead a tiny bit. But yeah, there's a lot more story. There's a lot more story coming, not just in the form of pages, because really, the pages are just a bit of... I guess you can consider the pages movie setup. Because, obviously, with the first series, we introduced Neo, Jack, and Hyde. And then, in the first movie, we had the situation where, between Neo, Jack, and Hyde, where we finally found out, okay, they're siblings, and we finally got Jack and Hyde to be not evil. They're finally good now. And they got their upgrades. Okay, and then at the end of the movie, we figure out, there's more to it than just there were a couple evil bad guys or something like. No, there's more to it. We'll get to that in the next little bit. Oh, the movies. I love movies. I love watching movies, and it was very fun making the movie. And it's why I decided that there's going to be more movies. Because I think that, as far as story goes, it's a good way to progress the story. The pages are okay, but they're just stills. Like, they're singular shots, and while that can do it for some people, it doesn't do it for me. I have to actually show you what's going on, and I can't show you well enough through the pages. And for me, the movies are what do that best. And it's how we sort of figured out a bit more about Jack and Hyde. It's how we figured out more about Neo, and how we sort of... how we're gonna figure more things out. How you guys will figure things out. I know a bit too much, maybe. Cause I'm planning way far ahead here. Like I'm planning so far ahead you don't even believe. Cause well, let's just go through my notes. So after planning out the potential things for Jack and Hyde, like what they could do in the first series, then I had that random thought, movie? And it was during that same time that I watched Reviving Bionicle, another fan series that a lot of people enjoyed. And that's really where the Mini Mayhems movie style came from. Because I don't have the patience to do stop motion. Some people do, but for a 45-minute movie, a 45-plus minute movie, no, I don't have that type of patience to get like 6 to 12 frames per second. I don't. I can't do that. And, I always make sure, if there's something that I don't think I can completely make my own, then I at least make sure to credit as much as I can. And I mean, that's what I did in, the actual description of the thing, because me being me, I forgot to do it in the actual credits. But, and as far as the actual antagonists go, I had the idea beforehand that, okay, maybe Jack and Hyde, they aren't completely evil. There has to be something about them that could turn them good, or make them good again. And then, as far as, like, a big antagonist, that's where the idea for Makuta came from. Like, the big endgame antagonist. And that was an idea very, very early on. And I just went with Makuta because, well, he's the classic Bionicle villain. I mean, he's one of the few characters that went from Generation 1 to Generation 2 and has been expanded upon so much. Like, in Generation 1, it's not just Makuta, it's a bunch of different Makuta. Like, Makuta is a species. And in Generation 2, Makuta is literally brothers with a mask, and literally has a brother, and they're both mask makers, and he's jealous. And he was literally once a good guy. But obviously if you're talking about Makuta, you always talk about him as a bad guy, which is where the idea for Makuta in this movie came from. Or I should say the first movie came from. But the fact that we barely see him was actually a mistake. I actually wanted to show him more, and it was only something I realized until after filming. Because I realized, while we do see him a few times, that's just it, we only see him a few times, but there's 4 instances where he speaks. So there was a missed opportunity to see him again in his tiny form, other than when he's first being awakened. Because really, we don't see his tiny form outside of that. And I kind of wish that I could have done more with that, but it's why we're not done with him. That was another thing that was sort of planned later on, that there's going to be more done with him. And the first movie included something outside the normal series, which was death, if not the conventional death. And I say that because Mini Mayhems is meant to be a family fun kind of series. Like, it's meant for all ages. You could be whatever age, and it's still meant to be viewable by you. Like, it's not meant to be like PG-13, it's not meant to be 18+. It's meant to be for everyone, because Lego is for everyone. Lego in general is meant, while it is aimed at kids, it's literally meant to be for everyone. It's a creative tool. So, I mean, I did what I could to make sure that the series in general kept kid-friendly, which is sort of why you have in some pages where, like, one of the characters is about to cuss, and the creator sort of cuts him off like, hey, this is a kid-friendly series. You stop that. There was a big thing about that. But, yeah, death. Death is a big thing. And it's something I wasn't sure about. But I sort of had to think a while on that. And even then, I wasn't sure how I want to go about it. But I know that I am kind of okay with the way I went about it. I think I could have done a bit better of a job with it. But as far as the end of the first movie went, I think that went perfectly, the way it should have. Because, I mean, how else are you gonna describe that character's death? I mean, his head was literally sliced off. Yeah. And the final clip, actually, speaking of that, was not part of the original script. And it was literally something I sort of thought while I was away from home, and sort of quickly filmed in one day and got all the voices done as well. And yeah, their characters weren't supposed to ever be a thing. But it's because I made their characters a thing that all these other things are now gonna happen. And that's what makes me, as a creative person, so happy. Because it's because I added that little clip that I can now finally figure out everything I need to about the second movie. And then, because of the second movie, I now know exactly what I'm gonna do for a third movie, and then a fourth movie. And ultimately, there will be a minimum of 5 movies altogether. A minimum of 5 movies and 5 series. And those 2 characters. I'll describe them in a little bit, because one of our questions is about them. Right now, I'll just say their names. The 2 characters are Shal and Ara. Shal is the bigger one, the taller one, the taller one, I should say. She is the one who cuts off Remy's head. And Ara is the smaller of the 2. Well, the shorter. And she doesn't really... Just like Shao, both of them are seen a little bit sort of hidden in Revamped. And that's on purpose. They're not meant to be in the series. They're not meant to be seen. The creator never intended for them to be characters. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I said I was just gonna name them. But yeah, the second movie. The second movie is gonna focus more on a little bit more of where Neo, Jack, and Hybe came from, and a bit more of why, or even how, Hybe became evil. And it's gonna explore different things about the characters, and we're gonna see a bit more of how they're gonna react in a dire enough situation. And we're even gonna see the introduction of Project G, which, by the way, by the time, actually I'm recording this on the day that the page where Project G is complete goes up. So you'll see a little image here, or here, probably right here. Here is your first official preview of Project G, the creator's emergency plan for mini Mayhems in case pages cannot be made. And there's actually only a specific way that this can happen, because the creator has access to at least 2 or 3 or 4 cameras actually, so he can get pictures. He has access to 2 computers minimum, 2 maybe 3, and he even has characters with him. But the only way he could not be able to do it is if he didn't have characters. So there's your thing. What's gonna happen to characters? Is that gonna be the reason that Project G is introduced? I'm not gonna spoil that part because I'm very excited about this and I have to keep some things a secret. But anyway, moving on.